We all think we're pretty good at dealing with our inboxes, right? Deleting spam, clicking unsubscribe when we need to. But what about the attacks that don't actually look like attacks? That's where things get a little more interesting. And that's what we're diving into today. We're taking a look at abnormal security. It's a platform that basically acts like a super smart detective, but for your inbox. So imagine this. Instead of just blocking stuff that's already known to be bad, abnormal security learns your email habits. It's kind of like how your smart speaker learns what kind of music you like. It's kind of like that. And here's the thing: if something seems off, even in the slightest way, it gets flagged. We're talking about, like, let's say you get an email from your boss at 2 in the morning asking for money. Or maybe there's an address that's just a little bit off and it almost tricks you into thinking it's legitimate. These are the types of things that you could easily miss in a second. They even have a whole list of these things. You've got your look-like domains, sudden changes in the way someone's talking to you in an email, weird requests for information. It's all about those little red flags.
Yeah, for sure. What's really interesting about this is that it goes way beyond those simple spam filters that we're all used to. It's like, imagine instead of just being able to spot bad words, Abnormal's AI can actually understand the way you write and communicate. So if an email doesn't really sound like you or someone you usually talk to, it's going to raise a red flag. And that's true even if it's a completely new type of scam that nobody's ever seen before. This is a big part of why abnormal security is such a game changer. It's not just about catching stuff that's already known to be bad. It's about being proactive and making sure that you're protected, even from threats that haven't even been discovered yet. I mean, wouldn't you agree that's a whole new level of security?
And it gets even better. Abnormal actually takes things a step further by keeping tabs on all those companies that you do business with. They've got this thing called vendor base, and it's basically like this huge network of like intel. Okay, so imagine this. One of your vendors, let's say they get hacked. You might not even know about it yet, but Abnormal's already way ahead of it. They're looking at every single email from that vendor super carefully and looking for any little sign of trouble. We're talking about stuff like lookalike domains, like when they have, let's say, Amazon0n.com instead of Amazon.com, those little tricks that are so easy to miss. Or like, what if there's a sudden change to your billing? Maybe they're asking for a wire transfer out of the blue and it seems kind of fishy.
Right. And this is so important because it's addressing a problem that I think a lot of people don't even really know about, and that's vendor email compromise. That's when you've got hackers, they break into a company's systems, and then they try to impersonate them to steal money. And this is a massive problem. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars, and it just keeps getting worse. What's really smart about the way Abnormal is approaching this is that they're not waiting around for you to actually fall for one of these scams. They're being proactive, essentially shielding you from these emails before they even make it to your inbox. It's a game changer, especially for businesses that really depend on working with a lot of different vendors.
And here's the really cool part. Abnormal doesn't just stop at email. They're thinking, okay, why limit ourselves here? So they've started to integrate with other platforms. We're talking Slack, Teams, even ChatGPT.
Oh, wow.
It's like, remember how we were talking about those security cameras? It's like having those cameras, but instead of just your front door, it's your whole digital life.
What I really like about that is that Abnormal can kind of start to understand the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you get a message on Slack, and maybe by itself it doesn't seem like a big deal, but then you get a weird email afterwards.
Yeah.
That's when it might start to seem a little suspicious. But Abnormal is able to connect those dots, which is huge, because that's how you catch those really tricky attacks, the ones that take advantage of the fact that we're using all these different ways of communicating at the same time.
It's like having this security system that just knows when something's not quite right. It doesn't matter where it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just email anymore. It's about looking at your communication patterns, across the board. And honestly, I think that's a way more effective approach to security in this day and age.
So if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's that abnormal security is doing way more than just blocking spam. It's like having this like digital bodyguard that's always one step ahead, learning how you communicate and keeping you safe from attacks you might not even realize are happening. And maybe the best part is you don't even have to think about it. It's all about keeping you safe without you having to lift a finger.